Hey everyone, my name is Gabriel, and today I want to talk to you guys something. I guess everything is near and dear to my heart, but I'm going to speak to you about. The title is The Dream That Wasn't Mine. You see, I grew up in a first generation family. My parents were first generation here in the United States. And like every immigrant, ideals and hopes for their children is, for them to go to school, go to college, graduate from a good university, and then get a higher paying job, right? And so, for those of you that don't know, I have ADHD, right? And it's been like the older I get, the more I realize it's been a major part of my life and who I've been in my life. And so growing up, I always had a lot of difficulty in schools, in passing classes. And all the teachers would always say, Gabriel is super smart, but he just likes to talk too much and he can't sit still. And so naturally, when you're in a system, right, that doesn't recognize what you are, right, a lot of times you go through a lot of stuff. So growing up, and my parents believed that that was the way to success and that was the way to have a great future, like many parents do. But then over time, I remember, I'll never forget, I graduated high school. And when I graduated high school, I went to college, right? Which it's not something that I really wanted to do, but it was like there were no other options. And I guess, I might as well go to school, right? And so I'll never forget, I was at, we call the college here CTC. I went to CTC. I signed up. It was so hard to sign up for classes. It was so hard to find your books. It was so hard to find where everything was. And plus, it was like a gigantic place. So anyway, I show up to my first college class. I'll never forget, it was Dr. Cook's office, right? And no, I'm sorry, her Dr. Cook's class, right? And there's about maybe 30 to 40 people in the class. And it was the first time that I saw like people in their 40s and 50s right next to young kids and stuff like that. And I was like, this is so strange. And I'm walking in, to Dr. Cooks' class. I'll never forget her name, Dr. Cooks. She might still be there. Tracy Cooks. Oh, I'll put her on blast or anything. But I'll never forget there. So I get in there, like 40, 50 people in there. And she walks in like a university professor, walks in. She says, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first day of class. I'm so excited that you guys are all here. I know that you guys all had the chance to read the syllabus, so we're just going to go ahead and start on chapter 2. And as I'm sitting there in unison, I see everyone get their book bags and start taking out their book. And I'm just standing there. I'm looking, everyone's taking out their book, and I'm just standing there. And I'm just literally like, we needed a book? We needed to read chapter 1? I was like, what in the world? Needless to say, I failed my first year of college. And so, I kind of fell into a rut because I was like, maybe college is not for me and this and that. And I'll never remember my aunt, she came up to me, she said, you need to go to college. And I told her, I'll never forget, I said, it's like 4 years. I don't want to do all that school. She was like, 4 years are still going to come regardless. Might as well get a degree. And I said, well, that makes a lot of sense. So I decided to go back to school. And I was like, I changed up my strategy. And I was like, I'm only going to take one class at a time. And I'll never forget, I signed up. It was U.S. government class. And I signed up. And I studied so hard. I was there every day. I was reading the book. And the very first exam that I ever took, I got a 68. When I tell you, I thought I was going to get an A or B. It was so disheartening. But nevertheless, I kept going. And so, I took one class. Then then I took 2 classes at a time. Then I did 3 classes at a time. Then I did 4 classes at a time. Then I took classes on, weekends, all with the goal of trying to reach my dream of getting a college degree. To make my family proud and to have, better opportunities along the way. But something happens when I was, finally graduating college, and I was finally at the university level, and I'll never forget the first day, my very last day of taking college class. This is when COVID, right? This was in 2020. August 2020 is when I graduated. And for those of you that don't remember, COVID was happening. And so here I am from childhood, 3 to 4 years old, with this dream and this vision of once I get that diploma. I mean, I'm talking about sleepless nights, early morning, late nights. I mean, the whole college experience, stressing about exams, preparing to give presentations, doing papers, doing study groups. And I'll never forget, in my last class, I think my last class might have been like a finance class in college. I can't remember. And I'll never forget when I finished my last class for my degree. It was like, pop. And I was like, oh, wow, well, that's very anticlimactic. There's a build-up here. You go through so much trials and tribulations. And you know what I realized? So check this out before I get there. So I finished all my coursework, and because of COVID, we can't do a graduation. The only thing that the college can do, they were going to do like a slideshow with all the people that graduated, right? And so mind you, in order to graduate college, you got to turn in all your documents, make sure everything's dotted. And I had did that, right? And I have to tell you the story. I turned everything in, and after I turned everything in, they were like, okay, good, I just watched for the YouTube video. It was my graduation was me watching my name come across the board on a YouTube video. I'm going to try and see if I can find it. I'm going to add it on here. And here I am in my house. So, when I tell you the most anticlimactic thing ever, it was the most anticlimactic thing I've ever done in my life. Because I thought when I got this degree, it was going to be like this golden elevator that was going to elevate me. The doors of heaven was going to open up. I was going to get my wings. I was going to fly away. That's what it felt like. And I'll never forget, when I graduated, when I graduated, they were going to post the video at 2. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get me a margarita, and I'm just going to really enjoy this. So I go get this nasty margarita at a taqueria place here in town. It was so nasty. I can't remember if it was red or blue. It was so gross. And I'm sitting there by myself. My mom is watching TV. My brother's not home. And I'm just looking at myself. I'm like, what is this? And so I'm sitting there waiting for my degree to come up. And, my name to come up on the slideshow. And guess what? My name never showed up. It never did. You know that you're watching and you're like, okay, all the A's, all the B's, all the C's. And I'm right at the M and I'm looking for everybody's name. And my name doesn't show up. And when I tell you, I was like waiting for just, the smallest essence of validation, and it didn't show up. And I was like so distraught. I was so, destroyed, really. I emailed the campus registrar, and my goodness, and I got to give it up to the college. They felt so utterly bad. They gave me like a whole bunch of discounted shirts and like they felt so bad. And you know what all of this taught me was, and here's the thing. When you're young, you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. And I remember after all that happened, you know, at this point I had already left the bank, and I think I was just doing no, not yet. No, I left the bank in February, that August. And you know, after I gone through all of my degrees, after I got in my degree, after I spent all those 4 years struggling and fighting, you know what's the one thing that I realized? Like, I used to have this vision of being an executive vice president at a bank or a district manager or a regional manager, something with a lot of prestige. But I knew that corporate America, you know, I was always a top salesman at the bank, but you know what I realized? They never wanted me. They only wanted what I could give them. And so I can't tell you how many times I saw people that had given their life to a company, right? To a bank. 20 years, and at the end of 20 years, they give you a watch, a piece of cake, and a little ceremony. That is it. And so I began seeing this. And this is while I'm going to college, I'm seeing this. And I remember after everything happened where I didn't get my diploma or my graduate, I didn't walk across the stage because of COVID. I remember, you know what? This is not really what I want to do. I don't want to work for someone. I don't want to have to clock in and clock out, meet deadline, because I didn't see a life in it. You know, I was, you know, making more money than my manager at the time, right? And he was a good dude. Shout out if you see this. But I remember they wanted to promote me at the bank. We were at an event, and the regional manager and district manager, they were like, we need you to apply so you can become an assistant branch manager or a branch manager. And I said I couldn't, because I just believed that there was something more out there for me. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there's been some high times, there's been some low times, there's been some sad times, and some rock bottom times. But the freedom to create my dream, my vision, has never swayed. And you know, and to be honest, even when I have gotten jobs, it's like, I'm like, this is not what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to wrap it all up with this. The dream to get a degree, it wasn't my dream. It was my parents' dream. Their hopes. I embodied their hopes and dreams of me. And, you know, because you love them. But I realized that I dared to dream my own dream. And that might be the title of this. But I dared to dream my own dream. And there's not this big reason why, but I just believe and I know there's something bigger and better out there. There's this world that I've created in my mind. And, you know, when it came time to flinch, I didn't flinch. Let me tell you this story real quick, and I'm going to end up with this. When it came time for me to leave the job that I was working at, they were like, Gabriel, you need to make a decision between working here or doing whatever it is you're doing. I was, you know, doing real estate at the time, and I still do. Shameless plug. If you're looking to buy here in Central Texas, give me a call. And I remember they were like, you got to make a decision. And I'm in the boardroom, It was actually the boardroom. It was the boardroom, it was the regional manager, the district manager, some some supervisors and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, and I failed my real estate exam 3 times, right? And so I was finally at that point where I was getting traction. And just so you know, you're always going to be tested. And they were like, you need to make a decision. They said either you work at the bank, and I was making about $800 every 2 weeks, or you go and do your thing, whatever it is you're doing. And I told him, I said, I looked at it. I looked at the paper. I told him, I said, I went through a lot to get my real estate license. And this is one thing I know for sure. I looked at all of them. I said, God gave me real estate, and I can't stop doing what God gave me. So I took my keys out of my pocket, had my name tag on there. So if y'all don't want me to do it, then here you go. And mind you, I haven't sold not one house. I haven't sold not one house in my career, in my real estate career. And it's been 7 years. Actually, I'm not sure how many years it's been. It's been 4 years since I made that decision, and I stood there on my conviction. And has it been tough? Yeah, it's been tough. Has it been fun? Oh, absolutely. Do I regret it? No. Because I chose to follow my path. So listen, I'm going to end it here. I don't know what you're going through. You might be watching me on a phone. You might be laying at home, maybe depressed. I don't know. But for the life of me, I want to tell you this. Do not give up on your dream. Do not give up on your dream. Don't give up. Your friends don't believe in you? Tell me about it. I had friends that tried that done all sorts of things. Your family doesn't believe in you? I can't tell you how many times my family were like, because they didn't want to see me suffer. Because they didn't want to see me suffer. And I understand it. There's been times where it was either, let me tell you this last story. One day, I was driving to my grandmother's house, and I had no money for gas, and I had no money for gas, and I had no money to pay my phone bill. So imagine that. A realtor, right? I'm a realtor, and I have no money for gas, I have no money to pay my phone bill, and my car tank is on E, and I had absolutely no idea where I was going to get the money from. And I'll never forget, a lady called me. She said, Gabriel, what's going on? She said, oh, nothing much. Well, why haven't I? Said, I've been trying to call you. I said, my phone been disconnected. And she said, well, why is it disconnected? I said, I don't got no money to pay it. And you know what I'm thankful for? She was like, here you go. I need your help to do something. And she gave me just enough to get my phone connected and $20 worth of gas. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot of times where I've been down and out, but some way or somehow I'm still here. I still have hope. I still have dreams for the future. And I'll tell you, John Maxwell says this all the time. He said, when I pass away, I wanted to say on my tombstone, a whole lot of people helped me on my way. And so, yeah, you might not know where your friends are going to come from or how you're going to do it, but just hold on to the dream. You don't got to do it, just hold on to the dream. Working a job you don't like, just hold on to the dream. Have a situation, just hold on. And so I want to encourage you today, keep going towards your dream. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. And if you found this to be any useful, please let me know in the comments. I love to hear from you. I love you. I'm sending love to you wherever you're at. And I trust that both of us are going to see better days. Thank you guys so much for watching.